Give us a snapshot of how of what following up on that, what a typical Baylor basketball player has to go through on a day-to-day and a week-to-week basis.
Well, I mean, in normal times, they're required to have one day off a week, I think.
Mhm.
And so, if you have, let's say you have a Saturday game and a Wednesday game. Well, Saturday you play, you travel, you come home. So in that situation, maybe their Sunday is their day off, and then you go in, you go to class, and you practice for 2 hours, and you do your treatment, and you do your conditioning, and then Tuesday you do the same thing, and then Wednesday you have a game day, and you know, and you do your film work, and they do all those things, and from what I understand, it's a lot the same, only you add COVID tests into that, process. And I'm sure that's, you get there a few minutes earlier than you would otherwise. And you have this, and I don't know how they're doing the COVID test. I don't know if they're doing the saliva or the nostril or whatever, but, that's not a part of the process that they're giving us a whole lot of insight into. But I do know this, I mentioned Rod Adelot, our photographer, and photo editor at the Trib. In order to shoot games from on the floor, he has to get a COVID test before every game. So
Mm.
that floor level is kind of protected as its own bubble. So in the media, like I'm come into a different room than I normally would, and I sit in a different section. And by the way, they're not going to give us those floor seats back. So that's just I've heard that they're not giving us the floor seats back, but whatever, such is life. Um, but I don't know. The life of a college athlete is different than a normal student, and a lot of people, with the name, image, and likeness uh, scenario, they kind of tried to paint these college athletes as victims, and I don't really see that at all. I think they have a much busier lifestyle, and but at the same time, these universities that make all this money through television and everything, well, it goes right back into the facilities. And so, a college basketball player she's going into a facility that's been built to help recruit college basketball players to come there. And so she's going into a nice locker room. They have the women have their own gym, their own floor, practice gym. Um, Baylor has a very nice dining facility. It's specified, for nutrition and things like that. And so you're very busy, but you have all this support to help maintain this very busy life. And I'm sure at times, and especially during COVID, it feels like you're super isolated from just a normal existence. But I mean, any of them had the chance to say, all right, college basketball isn't for me. I'm just going to go, play intramurals and study biology or whatever.
Chad, we've obviously read a lot, and it's been a big discussion point throughout the past year about the economics of college sports and how they're going to be affected by the pandemic and what things might look like after the pandemic lifts. And this discussion has mostly been filtered through the lenses of football and men's basketball. Where does women's basketball fit into this larger context? How much of a budgetary presence does women's basketball have for athletic department finances and well-being? What are some of the discussions and tension points you've been hearing of, in terms of either backroom chatter or any maneuverings among conferences and thought leaders in the college sports industry? What are the economics of women's basketball in a pandemic context?
Well, I mean that's a really good question, and it's it's hard to imagine, I mean, not just women's basketball, but like, tennis programs and track and field programs that have support staff and people. And I know from some contacts at some different schools that they've had to lay off people. When you start talking about firing a football coach and buying out his contract, I mean, you don't think about this like from a human standpoint, but when you're buying out a football coach's $9 million contract, how much does that spit in the face of the people who lost their $40,000 a year jobs because the pandemic shifted things from an economic standpoint. But from women's basketball, and this is true, anybody, this is what I've been told since I worked in athletics when I was in college up through even now, and what people within the women's programs have said, and they don't try to make any, create any illusions about this, but men's basketball and let's just back up. Football, and in a lot of cases, men's basketball make money. Nobody else does. And so women's basketball is supported by the revenue generated by football and men's basketball and TV money and attendance and things like that. Now Baylor is in a much better situation because it's in the I would say probably the top 3 nationally, maybe top 2 nationally in attendance in a normal
Right,
year.
they're a bit of an outlier. They're like the UConns in the world, and they can.
Right.
It's sort of like the University of Arizona with our softball program. That's one of the like 2 or 3 that make money in the country.
Right.
And,
Well, right.
in that group of
But
10.
even at that, I went to Texas Tech at a time when Texas Tech was not where Baylor is, because Baylor is, at a place that not many programs have ever been. But I went to Texas Tech when the Lady Raiders won the conference. I
Hmm.
think several years while I was in college, and drew very well in attendance. We're coming off somewhat recently. They won a national championship in '93, and I started in '96, and so women's basketball was popular when I was in school, and it didn't make money. I mean, that was the reality that everyone knew within the athletic department at that time, is the women's basketball team didn't make money. And Texas Tech had a really good baseball team then too, as they do now. But the baseball team doesn't make money. Those things depend on donors, on people that follow the program and donate to the
Corporate
program.
sponsorships.
Yeah, and then football and basketball, and that's to me, it's the heartbreaking misconception out there about college athletics, is that football players are getting rich, or football coaches or universities are getting rich on football money. Well, football money funds the track team, and it funds in most cases the softball team and the women's basketball team and the tennis teams. And it gives a whole lot of people the opportunity to go to college and work on their craft and make those contacts and play those sports. And so, and don't get me wrong, I think that there is a huge opportunity to do this name, image, and likeness thing, so that when I go into the Matador store in Lubbock, Texas, the jersey, the number 1 jersey I buy at the gift shop, says Shannon on the back instead of saying nothing on the back. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying?
Yep.
I mean, I think that's a huge opportunity, and it will create jobs within the athletic department, because somebody's got to come in and monitor and regulate that, and make sure that everything is done on the up and up, and that Joe Smith is lending his name, image, likeness to a car dealership and not a Coke dealer.
Right. And you don't have the issue of people drop. You don't have the issue of the college presidents having to deal with paying salaries and running afoul of Title IX. Getting
Well,
yeah,
paying salaries. When you talk about paying salaries, you might as well just say, "All right, we're going to create a minor league sports league, and that will end college athletics."